Hi all. So I've got a bit of a change of plan today. I was planning on going out to the Pride and Joy car meet up at Middle Wallop today, but it looked all a bit damp out this morning. And Postman arrived and he's finally brought some parts that I've needed for the wastegate. I've been having on and off issues with the wastegate, and I've done other videos on boost spikes and all this sort of stuff. So I've been working on this project for a while now, for controlling the boost spike gear. But I found, well, I was getting these boost spikes that I couldn't control. And when I took the wastegate apart, I found that there was a small hole in the diaphragm in the wastegate, so it wouldn't have been working properly. So I ordered a wastegate from a UK supplier, or sorry, a new diaphragm that's supposed to be for the TiAL wastegate. So it's a genuine TiAL wastegate on mine. And this one has arrived, and I'm pretty certain they've sent the wrong one because it looks too small for me. And it's taken 2 weeks to arrive. I'm really not impressed with this lot because I think they've taken 2 weeks to dispatch it. But I'll get the other wastegate diaphragm out and we can check back to back with that one. But basically at the same time I thought I'd also take a gamble and order one from AliExpress from China. And can you believe it, this thing has arrived in less time than the one I ordered from, where's this lot, Oswestry, I think that's the Midlands, isn't it? Yeah, so it's actually taken longer to get a part, which is probably the wrong part. So I might take a gamble. Part of the reason I actually ordered this was because I was thinking of butchering one of these to turn it into an electronic one. But this has now arrived. And this is the Chinese kind of, it hasn't gone as far as putting any logos on it. But this is the Chinese equivalent. At first sight, it looks okay. So I'm going to open this one up and have a look. I'm not really much for one saying you can judge quality by just peering at things. I've seen a lot of these eBay videos where they go, oh, there's this and there's that, but to be honest, I don't think any of them are ever done by engineers. I think the only way you can properly judge quality is by actually using the thing and seeing if it works. I spent a lot of time working for the MOD as an engineer. They used to define quality as fit for purpose. So just because something's expensive doesn't mean it was a higher quality. Whatever worked for your purpose is a good enough quality. Anyway, I will get some tools out and just take this apart and see what's what. But I'm quite impressed. It's come with obviously the screws and the connectors for the vac hoses, and it's also even come with, not that I need them, but it's obviously come with the mounting, like the weld on bits for the exhaust, and new gaskets, a new fire ring there. But as I've already got a TiAL one on, I think this should bolt straight in. But I'm going to take the top off and have a little peer and see what it looks like. Just put this lightly in the vise just to hold it. The vise isn't touching any of the mating surfaces, because that would be stupid, wouldn't it? Oh dear. So according to the blurb, we have 2 springs in here. I need to re-look at this actually. I don't know if there's any, because that short spring actually feels like it's a higher poundage than the long one. Obviously what I want is minimum poundage in here, but I am also hoping the TiAL springs may well fit. So let's have a look inside here. The diaphragm looks okay. Seems to move freely, which is all we want really, isn't it? no way of telling the diaphragm. I mean, to be honest, this looks virtually identical inside. When I get the other one out, be able to do a comparison. Let's just see if... So that's one of the springs. I've got a whole load of springs for the TiAL one, and lo and behold, would appear to be exactly the same size. What a coincidence, eh? Anyone would think the Chinese might have just had a TiAL wastegate when they were designing this one, because it's so similar. Now, obviously, as you might have seen when that undone, there's quite a lot of pressure on here. I'm just trying to make up my mind which one to put in. I think I'll have a look. One of my little tips is, though, this is handy, because you can actually put that on, so that will have, that's the air in through there. So obviously you can rotate this around to help with positioning, and if we took that off, you can also move this one through. What would that be if it's 3? That'd be 120. So these little screws on the top hold the diaphragm onto the valve. I'm just going to take these off and have a look at what's underneath. There we go. You can see here we can undo these and rotate the body around to make it fit nice and neat. It's interesting, there seems to be a better seal on there than there is on the TiAL one. I shouldn't be comparing, should I? I don't know enough about these to be able to compare. I'm not going to do the YouTube thing, like I said, that a lot of people do. I have no qualifications whatsoever to make judgment. I'm an electronic engineer. I am not a mechanical engineer, so I'm not qualified to say a lot, really. It all looks fine to me. We've not got any nasty burrs or anything. Just wondering whether to do the same as I have been with the other one to keep this off the fire seat. This ring here is a sort of sealing ring. That gives it 100% seal. Mine originally didn't have one of these in, which is then causing the overboost, but when it wasn't in, it wouldn't run over half a bar. Talking about the TiAL one again. I'm just going to measure the gap there. So obviously with feeler gauges, I can't accurately measure that gap because you'd need like a wire gauge rather, but I'm doing this. So about 1.5 mils going through and 1.8 isn't. So I would say that's gap around there is about 1.5 mil. Obviously then if I put the fire ring in, the gap is 0, so it's a complete seal. Now what I'm thinking now is, do I put the fire ring in or not? I think I'll decide that later. What I need to do is get the old one off first. There was obviously a little bit of thread lock on these, so I'll copy and put a little bit of thread lock on. If I get the bloody lid off. I don't know, that's very thin, that stuff. It always seems to come out too fast. Right, let's wipe away all that thread lock I got everywhere, because I don't really need that all over the place. Okay. Yeah, so my little tip, when you're putting these on, you've obviously, it's quite tricky, especially when it's on the car. You've got to compress this and hold it, and the screws go into alley, and there's a really good chance of crossing threads. So my little tip is I put in a couple of way too long bolts first that don't need much compression, and just do them up a little bit, So one on each side, or however is easy to get in. And then those act as a dowel. So instead of having to compress this and line it up, these are going to line up for you. So then when you put the shorter ones in, it's already lined up. And then you get a couple of those in and then take those out and put the right length ones in. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm not sure what spring I'm going to put in here. Anyway, so that's my little tip. Because otherwise, because you're screwing into Ali, if those get cross-threaded, you're going to bugger those threads up really easy. So that's the tally one off, which I believe to be a real, not a copy. I bought the sort of turbo kit for the car from a breaker, so it was all second hand. I don't know how old this thing is. You can see where some of these are much longer, where I've done the sort of dowel thing plus a bit with this. It's quite tricky getting in on the car to do this. I've also helicoiled nearly all of these. I've had trouble over time with them. Okay. So the problem I've had with these is, so this diaphragm here is, I bought it last May, so it's less than a year old. I don't know if maybe these are quite old and they've been kicking around in storage for a long time. Yeah, the bit that it actually goes, you know, the bellows part, you can see is all split. And it split so badly that it actually split open, and I ended up, where is it, somewhere along here, ended up being super glued together, which is clearly not very satisfactory. So which is why I ended up buying what is supposed to be a direct replacement. Now, I don't think we need to go as far as measuring anything with a micrometer to see that that ain't a direct replacement. It's just, oh, I don't know what the hell they've sent there. So this part was quite late as well. Obviously it's entirely up to you who you buy from, but just in case you're wondering, that's who I bought this from, and it will be going back to them on Monday. So that's the spring I did have in the Tally one, which is a 1/4 of a bar. I know that seems really low, but it's where I'm trying to use this boost controller. And these are the bigger springs. They're not much colour left, but they're colour coded. The colour tells you the boost, and then you can double them up to add them up. And look at that, just by pure coincidence, the Tally ones fit the Chinese one perfectly. How about that? So the wastegate lives in there. I was planning on videoing putting it back in, but as you can see, it's really, I can't even get an angle on the video, and any angle I can is my arms will be in the way when I fit it. So the plan is now I'm going to just offer the new wastegate up and work out the best orientation for the two vac pressure inlets. Yeah, shouldn't have buttoned that up because I need to undo this to get to the bolts for rotating it round. Really not keen on these little grub screws, they're so easy to bugger up the inside. There we go. Anyway, so that's together now. Hopefully that's all okay. Okay, so back out to the driveway once I've had a slurp of coffee. That's the new wastegate, connected and plumbed. There's nothing goes in there at the moment. That will be the turbo controller one, because that's the pressure on top to keep it closed. Now, even managed to get, let's wipe that off, you managed to get a bit of blood on it. So, look at that sky. It's warm, it's time to go out and see what it does. Hi, thanks for getting to the end of the video. If you're not already subscribed, please do so now. Just hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button, and that way YouTube will tell you when there's any new videos. We've got some big plans ahead for the channel, including possibly a car build from scratch. So if you want to get involved with that, now's the time to subscribe. Cheers then, bye.